Hey, Rebel Bankers, it's your host, Chris Noggle, and welcome back to the show. I couldn't be more excited about today's guest, but this is going to be incredible. We just had a little bit of a conversation just kind of about our past and where we are now, and I think every one of you are going to love this. So, Mikey Taylor, welcome to the show. It's my honor to have you on this, and I think it's going to be amazing. Before we get into it, this show, what we like to do is we like to talk about the journey. We like to talk about all the things that we had to overcome to get where we are. Because a lot of times people look at somebody that's, they view as successful and they're like, oh, it must have been easy for them. There's nothing that's been easy about any person that's ever been on this show. And I don't think today's going to be any different. But what's so unique is your background as a pro skater. And when I had my skateboard shops, you were like our idol. You were that guy. And now you're in real estate. You're doing a lot of the same things on the money side I am. So I can't wait to, tell everybody. But before we get into that, every one of you that are watching today's show, you're going to get a ton out of this. But the other thing is I want you all to get started on your journey. Money is always that one thing. And I know it was for me, but it's that one thing that everybody views as a mountain, that mountain that a lot of times they can't get out of their mind. And a lot of people stop right there. They don't even get started because they think I need the resources. I got to have the money before I can start. And that is not how it is. You have to be resourceful. It's not going to be about your resources. It's going to be about you being resourceful. And today we're going to dive into that. So without wasting any more time, Mikey, welcome to the show. Tell my audience a little bit about kind of where you're at today, some of the things you're doing, and then we'll take a trip back in time.
Okay, so my name's Mikey Taylor. I'll give you a quick kind of where I started to get here. I was a pro skateboarder. I started skateboarding at 13. I turned pro at 20 and skated professionally from 20 to 34. Along my journey, I kind of was really entrepreneurial. I started a skateboard company. I started a backpack company. I started a craft brewery. Anything I could do to create control for my future. And then once my career ended, I then started a real estate fund called Commune Capital. And a big driving force for that was to help my friends who are still athletes plan for their future. And unfortunately, a lot of us as people plan for the future once everything's going downward. And I wanted to help people plan while their career was still trending upward so that when the inevitable, the surprise happened, they were in a pretty good space. So that's what I do now. We invest in multifamily apartments, and a lot of my world is probably very similar to yours now.
But our worlds going back in time are probably very different. So why don't we do this? Let's take a trip back in time. And what I kind of really want to focus in on is your journey, the things you had to go through, the struggles, the journey just through that skateboarding career. Because I know as a pro snowboarder, back then it was a lifestyle thing, and we didn't make a ton of money, but we lived the lifestyle, and everything that happened there on out led me to my stores, which was my lifestyle business. I want to hear your story. Like, what was it like when you first started? Because skateboarding was so different back then than it is today. Tell everybody what that was like.
So skating was really small when I was a kid. It was the furthest thing from cool. Like, we were really like outcasts in a sense. And I had found something that I loved, but like my life was so different. Like in high school, we had, I don't know, maybe 2,000 people in high school. I had like 6 friends. Like the 6 guys who skated in high school were my friends, and everyone else messed with us. Like it was such a different life, and our industry represented that. Like if everyone in the world doesn't mess with us, no one's going to buy the company's product. So we had a very small industry. And so when I got the opportunity to become a pro skateboarder, my original plan is I was going to do it for 3 years. There was no future or real success in it. So I was going to do it for 3 years, travel, experience the world. And then my idea was I was going to go back to school and like get it all out of my system and then go the conventional route. And then in that kind of meantime, skateboarding exploded. And all of a sudden we were able to not make crazy money, but we could make enough money where I looked at it and thought, you know what, there's something I could do here. I don't have the longevity that I'd want in maybe like a different career, but I thought this could be like a great opportunity and a great stepping stone into the next thing I did. And so my life, it looked completely different from 2001 to 2002. It was like different world, different person.
That's awesome. And also during that period of time as a pro skater, I mean, you're coming up through that, and then all of a sudden you start getting signature products. You start getting new sponsors that are literally creating products with your name on it and, selling that. What was that like? I mean, that was I never reached that level where like I had a snowboard with, my name, my signature model. Like talk a little bit about like what that happened when you got your first signature model, whether it be a
So
shoe or a board or whatever.
the first signature model I ever got was a skateboard. And it was a lot different of a feeling than I thought it was going to be. Like you think of, oh, I'm going to have a pro board. That's going to be awesome. The first time I saw a kid riding my board, I was like embarrassed almost. It was the strangest feeling. Like I was not prepared for it. I was like, gosh, this is so awkward. Like he's got my board with my name on it, And then like, I had a board for a couple years. When I got my shoe, my first signature shoe, that's where it was like a whole different experience because I started seeing people that weren't skaters wearing my shoe. I remember like the first time I saw it, I was at the grocery store and one of the like clerks that was there was wearing them, did not skate. And I was like, dude, that is the coolest thing ever. Like this guy's wearing my shoe, has no idea who I am. So like there was a difference, but that was a cool experience for sure.
That's awesome. And also too, one thing I know from every pro athlete that I've ever known is being a pro skater, pro snowboarder, we're always forced that we got to think for ourselves. It's not like it's a team sport. You don't have somebody else saying, hey, if you do this, you don't have a coach saying this is going to be the game plan. It's you. It's you being creative. It's you being an individual. It's you creating your destiny. So like that transitioned. And at what point did you realize that you were going to be an entrepreneur during that whole process?
Such a good question. It happened for me when I started riding for Etnies. So I was sponsored by DVS. I got my first shoe with DVS. And that was my first experience into the kind of inner workings of selling product for a company. And I got my first royalty check and it was the first time I made significant, like real significant money. And I wanted more of it, right? So I was like, okay, how do I sell more shoes? And to me, it was like, I need to either get better on the marketing side or get better on the sales side. So I started paying more attention to how it worked, started going into the company, asking more questions, and really started finding this passion on that side of it. Except they didn't really want me involved on that side. They just wanted me to skate. And so actually that was like the deciding factor for me to want to leave DVS. And I had gotten the opportunity to ride for Etnies where I was going to come on and be kind of more than just a skater. I would help with the team, help with design. And that was my first experience in working with other people. And I was not good at it. It was a rude awakening where my whole career to that point was all about me. I didn't have to worry about anybody else. And I walked into this place with like this, like the most authoritative, like I'm the boss, like bow down to me and was like demanding everything. And it was ridiculous. Like these guys were like, you're just a fucking skater. Like, what are you talking about? But I was so young and I didn't understand it that I took it as, you know what, why are these guys going to listen to me when they just look at me as a skater? The only way somebody's going to listen to me and want to create my vision if it's my company. And I kind of, that was the realization where led me to, I need to own my own companies. And then I learned I can't operate like this. Working with people is not, you don't bark orders at people. You actually need to learn how to create these relationships and systems so you all work together to grow the ultimate goal. And that was probably the biggest learning lesson for me was how to do that.
And I don't know if it's the exact same time frame, but I remember in the industry, because I was in it since 94. That's when we opened our shops. And I remember skateboarding being this grassroots thing. Then all of a sudden, I think it was late 90s, early 2000s, it just exploded. And when it exploded, all this big corporate money came in. But with the big corporate money came the big corporations that didn't give a crap about skateboarding and what we all were about. They just saw the dollars and cents. And I remember at that point, that's when a lot of you guys started creating your own companies. And then some of those companies went off to be massive. So like that was that during that same period of time, that 2000s period?
So it's exactly when it all happened for me. So
awesome.
when all that money came in is when I started making money.
Yeah.
And then you saw, then what we really saw is the power that we had to build brands, right? Like these big companies would come in, they'd pay us all this money because they believe that by marketing and telling a story and using us, that would in turn sell product and sell more dollars for them, right? And how we looked at it is, okay, that's cool. Like, but we're building your brand. The second we're not a pro and irrelevant, everything that we built continues to grow on and we just fade away.
Yeah.
And that was like the realization for us is like, if we're trying to like build something and get paid for it for the rest of the existence, we need to have some equity in this thing.
Absolutely. I love it. I love it. Holy crap, man. It's weird because like from the outside, from like the shop owner looking in, that's kind of how we saw it. But when you hear it from the inside out, it's just a mirror image of it. I love hearing that.
Yeah.
So during this process of the pro skateboarding career and when you sort of transitioned into real estate, where was that? Like, what was that? How did that start? And what was it like? Did you understand other people's money? Were you just self-funding?
Okay.
Like, talk about that. Let's talk
So
money.
I gotta take you back then a little bit.
All right.
So before the entrepreneurial journey for myself happened, and I started making significant money, I was 21 at this point. And my parents didn't understand how I was making money. One, two, they were terrified that like I might not have a career in a year or 2 or 5. And so they introduced me to this guy who would then later become pretty much my biggest mentor. And he owned a wealth management company. So he managed money and they ran a real estate fund. And it was the first time I had anybody teach me about money, teach me about budgeting, teach me about saving, teach me how to get my money to work. And so at 21, learning that and being scared about what would happen after my career, I experienced investing into real estate and what that did for me. And when I started getting returns off it, it was like the aha moment for me of like, holy crap, if I get hurt, if I lose my sponsors, if my career ends, if I don't know what the hell I'm going to do after skating, as long as I get this number big enough, it doesn't matter. This is my security. And at 21, experience that, I became obsessed with investing. I became obsessed with living really below my means to maximize what I could invest in. When you talked about living a lifestyle, dude, I lived the lifestyle of being broke. I was making good money and no one would have ever known because I didn't make enough to live this great lifestyle and invest. And I was on this mission to become financially free. So that's where the real estate arm started. And then as the entrepreneurial side started, I was trying to have ownership in all the brands I marketed, really. And then so fast forward to my career ending, I didn't ever create a shoe brand. And shoe and clothing are the ones that like really pay you.
100%.
So that went away. I lost all my income as a pro skateboarder and found myself in this very unique situation of I had planned so hard for the financial aspect of it and truly believed if my money was right, no one could hurt me, right? What I wasn't prepared for was the emotional blow to follow by me losing my career, right? I didn't realize how much identity, purpose, ego, all I had baked into this thing. And so when I was going through my transition, I was trying to figure out who I was. It was like the only way I could explain it is I didn't know who I was, and the only thing I would keep saying was, how do I get back to feeling like me? And that was the early stages of it before I understood what it really was. And so my idea was, okay, my career's gone. I need to start another company. And the next company I start will become me, and then I'll get my identity back. It was like the wrong way to look at it. And what was happening is all these ideas I was throwing out, none of them felt authentic. Like I was going to do a shoe company, right? Business plan done, deck done, samples done, ready to go. And I'm looking at these shoes going, why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? It was trying to fill a void that I didn't know was even there before. And what I had realized was this void was here because I was getting all of my love through praise through my career. And so I had to start working through some really like inner workings with myself on why I felt like that, why I let everyone around me tell me how valuable I was. And as I'm going through this journey, I'm getting calls from all my friends who are still pro skateboarders going, what the hell is going on with you? Like, is everything okay? And I was really open. It was with Sean Malta, actually, to be specific.
Yeah.
Sean Malta calls me.
Absolutely.
And he goes, what's up with you? And I'm like, dude, I don't know, man. Like, I'm throwing out all these companies. I was trying to fill this void. I think I figured out what it is. I'm working through this, right? But this is tough. And he goes, yeah, no, that's not what I meant. Like, what, like, how are you, like, financially? Like, are you okay? Like, you have a wife, you have kids, you have your house. Like, how's your money? And it was a big, like, eye-opening, like, moment for me because I forgot how scared I was of this ending of my career and how many other skaters, athletes in general think about that as well. And what he was asking was, how's your money? And as I told him, he said, well, dude, I hope I can be in that position when I go through it. And that was my aha moment of, you know what, our industry is broken in this aspect. Like we take these kids at a young age, we give them fame, we give them money. And the second we can't make money off them, we spit them out and they're just forced to swim with no ability to know how to. right? So that was like the aha moment for me of like, I need to do something to fix this. And to now bring this whole thing full circle, my mentor that I had met, Randy, when I started my first business, I didn't know how to start a business. So I brought it to him. Hey, dude, how do I do this? What's a business plan? What? And he set me up and then set me out, and I went out and did it. When we started St. Archer, we had to raise money. I didn't know how to raise money prior to that. Bring it to Randy. Randy, how do we do a capital raise?
Just so the audience knows, St. Archer, that was your brewery?
Yeah. So
yes.
I co-founded a craft brewery with Paul Rodriguez and Josh Landon, who are two of my closest friends, another pro skateboarder and a filmmaker. And we had never done a capital raise before, but we needed capital to start it. So we went to Randy. Randy, how do we do this? Well, I didn't know what a PPM was. I didn't know what nothing. This is all this. This is what investors are going to ask for. Send us on our way. We went out and did it. So at this point, with this aha moment for me of wanting to do something to give back to other skaters, real estate being the vehicle that I always chose to have my money work for me, I wanted to start something in real estate. I was going back and forth between either syndicating or a fund. And so I built out this business plan, this deck, my idea, what I was going to do, brought it to him, just like always, Randy. I know how to do all this. I know how to launch a brand. I know how to start a company. I know how to raise money. I don't know how to manage a fund if I go down that route. What is the inner workings of a fund? And this was the first time that he didn't go, this is all you do and go do it. He went, I think we should do this one together. And so this guy who had been my biggest mentor, who I'd been investing with for 10 plus years, we partnered together on this one. We created my first fund on the principal side, their third fund, and then Commune Capital started.
That is freaking awesome, man.
Yeah.
See, there was a lot of stuff in there I didn't know about it. Like I knew you had a brewery. I had no idea who your partners were. I didn't know what it was. I got one question about the brewery. Did you guys do sour beers? Did you have a sour or a Gosa?
We had some. We never went production with them, but we had our like 6 beers that were out in the market, and then we had like 30 beers that you could only have in our tasting room. And we had a lot of beers like that in there.
Oh, see, that's good. And the reason I ask is I'm such a freak with that. Like that's my thing. I just had to ask. I know it's way off topic, but
no, that's cool. Super cool.
So you did the brewery, and so what'd you do? Did you just sell that off? Did you spin it off? What happened there?
Yeah, sorry. We ended up selling the brewery. We sold it at the end of 2015 to Miller Coors.
Oh, geez.
And yeah, that was really cool. But you know what's funny? My whole thing, I think from this early experience of being a pro skateboarder, I had to learn how to get my money to work, right? St. Archer was a perfect example. I started a company. We had an exit, lump sum of money. Lump sums of money do nothing for me.
Absolutely nothing.
I need money to work. What did I do with the lump sum of money? Straight back into real estate has always been the thing for me. And I will say, my dad has always had rental properties. And I think seeing him and what that did for him, I've always looked at real estate as being as the best vehicle to creating passive income. Even when I didn't know what that was, just seeing my dad have these properties and us living in these neighborhoods that his salary couldn't really support. But because he had all these other things going on, we were able to do that. I've just always been really, really fond of it.
This is just like, I'm speechless, but it's just hearing your story and knowing mine, obviously knowing kind of, yours was skateboarding, but I had the shops. Mine was a pro snowboarding career. And I'll never forget that day when I had a bad injury in California, overshot a jump, and it ended my career right there. Within 6 months, all sponsors gone. Every single one of them were gone after 6 months of an injury. And it's just, I was lost. Now I was an advisor. I was doing some flips, but not many. But that moment when you realize it's over, and then you're just searching, just like you were saying, you were searching for like, what's next? I was searching as well. And it's kind of the parallels, of both of our stories there are so crazy. And you said a couple of things at the end there with, teaching people how money really works and teaching people how to keep money in motion, because you're right. So many people, they have equity in their houses and they think they're rich because they have equity. Well, that equity in your house does you absolutely nothing. It doesn't change your life, doesn't give you any extra income, and it's a liability. They don't even realize that. Or they get all this money and you know what? It's usually, especially if it's someone that's young, I got all this money and then it's gone. Got all this money and it's gone, because people don't understand how money works, and they don't understand how to make money work for them so they don't have to work as hard. They just think that the money's going to keep coming in. And that's, I know how the snowboarding industry is, and it's very similar to the skate industry. That's how pro athletes are. They're making lots of money. They're living up to that lifestyle. Then all of a sudden, a torn ACL, a broken leg, maybe something worse, and it's over. And if they didn't do something, like, you were smart, you were really smart, you put your money to work, but there's so many people that don't, because number one, they don't have somebody in their sphere, somebody that they look at as their idol that is doing it and can teach them how to do it. I admire you so much for doing that, for Commune Capital, for creating a fund and then taking that to the people that like are doing what you did, and you know how to fill that and you know how to help them. And it truly is helping them.
I totally appreciate that.
Oh, I love it. I mean, it solidifies so much of what I'm doing on the road every single week. Every week I'm in a different state speaking on how money works and teaching people how to use real estate as a catapult to the life that they want. And it's surprising, because I don't teach, outside of the infinite banking stuff, I don't teach anything that's crazy complicated. You don't need a finance degree to understand what I'm teaching you. But I go on these stages and I'm thinking, this crowd is going to know all of this. No one knows any of it. And it is the simplest stuff, but they just have never been taught it. And then you were fortunate. You had what I would call the unconditional one. You had the gentleman that helped you, paved the way, taught you, took you under his wing. There's so few people that have that. My unconditional one was my mom. But my mom had no money, but she believed in me and she allowed me to dream big, even though I came from nothing. And I love that, because you have the ability to be that unconditional one for so many people, to show them how to get there and to change their life, not just today, but like their whole life.
So I'm gonna go build off that on 2 points. One, that has become the thing that really makes me feel accomplished every day, is knowing that now I can like be a part of this world that I love so much and actually help make it better than I had it. Right. So I love that. And thank you. And I like really feel blessed even be in that position to be able to do that. Two, on your first point of not knowing how money works, I had no idea either. Like, my whole thought was like, oh yeah, you have $1 million and you're rich, you never have to work again. That's like truly what I thought. Yeah. Right. And the funny thing is, it's actually so much more simple than that. And I just experienced on a fluke going, oh, wait, I have money coming in every quarter and it's consistent and I'm not working for it. And I was just at that point, I was like, oh yeah, I lost a headphone. Once that number is greater than my expenses, I get to live off it. Ta-da! That was like as simple as it was for me, and then I started getting, more experience in it and saw how cool it really can be. But that was for a 22-year-old skater, I was like, ta-da!
Light bulb.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. I love it. And it's just, the other thing too is like, how we kind of connected, and we talked about it, but the audience doesn't know this, is I was in Galapagos Island with Kent Clothier and Greg Hurling, and we were just there on like a journey, just an experience trip. And I remember Kent in the taxi talking about a message that he got from a pro skateboarder. I'm like, oh, which one? Because obviously I'm like, who was it? And he said your name. I'm like, no way. Instantly went on Instagram and, I think I even sent you a couple of messages, but finally, we connected and you spoke on Kent's stage at one of the few Kent events that I wasn't at speaking. And it was just like, that's when my light bulb went off here. And I didn't know you were doing all this stuff. I kind of knew bits and pieces. I knew the back skate story. I knew Commune. I had no idea about the brewery or any of that stuff, but wow, I think this is the start of a lot more of our paths crossing, because you're doing what I'm doing, and it's just a matter of, you're on West Coast, I'm on East Coast. We just got to converge.
I think this is the start of a pretty cool friendship.
This is awesome.
And just to your point, and when I will say this because it does suck on my end, skateboarding is, and skateboarding is very anti-success. We're anti-establishment. If you plan to be good or plan to be successful, that's looked down upon. So for me, like, when I started real estate investing, when we started these companies, I actually didn't even tell a lot of my peers in the industry because I was scared they were going to think I was whack.
And I
had almost created like this, almost like this split personality where, like, when I was with skaters, I wouldn't talk about anything I was into. And then when I was around skaters, I would. And what sucks for me is once I went through it, I felt like if I would have just been open, I actually could have maybe helped a lot of people while I was experiencing it and given them a leg up And that's been like a huge thing for me now is like, even with social media, every time I feel like maybe I shouldn't say something because of what people are going to think, I remind myself of that moment and go, you know what? This could help somebody. Say it. And that's been a big
Absolutely.
catapult in my, at least my using my platforms to try and help people was that instance.
And you are, and just what you just said, like where you don't want to say something because you think maybe I'll offend somebody, maybe somebody that, you know, will look at me differently. I always, when I get like that, I always look at Gary Vee and I'm just like, that dude says
Put it out.
whatever's on his mind. For it. So
Yeah.
I think just like the thing that you're doing, you know, with Commune and everything, and your story of how you went from pro skater to business entrepreneur to ultra success where you're at now. But now you're like, how do I bring other people through that same journey so that they can get ahead, so that the skateboarding career, that whatever the career is that they're doing, so that when that ends or something happens and that gravy train or that dream ends, life begins again. Like, and they have a path. And I think that's just amazing because I look back to, and I know we're not supposed to look in the past, but I look back and I'm like, do you know how many people I could have helped if I just talked about this? And if I just called my old pro snowboard friends and said, you guys gotta talk to me.
Yeah.
I can help you. I can show you how to do this. And that's what you're doing. And your story needs to get out there to a lot more people. And this podcast will help get that out to some, but I just think anything we can do, you know, here at any of our companies, the Money School, the Money Multiplier, Flip Out, we got to start telling your story more, and it's got to get to the right people. And I think just with our similar backgrounds, we have those audiences, and I think this is going to be awesome. And I hope we can change some big things.
I appreciate it. I think we're going to have a lot of cool conversations, man.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think we're getting to the tail end of this. I got one thing I got to ask, and my audience will love this.
Yeah.
During this journey, what is the one thing that you think has helped you transform your life? What was that one defining moment in your life that kind of set you on the right path? It's a deep question.
You know what, man? I spoke yesterday at a sales conference. I'm going to tell this story because I think this is one of the best things I ever learned from skateboarding. And I think it's been the key component to all of my success beyond it. When we learned how to skate, it took a lot of air to learn the trick, right? For me to learn how to ollie, which was the first trick we learned, I spent 4 months for 4 hours a day trying to ollie. When I learned how to kickflip, it was like 6 months every single day just to learn how to land it once. So my first experience with skating was you're going to have to work your ass off and fail for a long amount of time till you get to experience landing it one time, right? And then when I became pro, our whole world was revolved around video parts, right? You talked about seeing video parts of ours. So a video part, for everyone who doesn't know, it's like an artist having an album. It's a big deal for us. And it's a 3-minute video. And that 3-minute video, which would be about 40 tricks, would take us 3 years to film, right? So if you think about that, I would try a trick for I would try to practice the trick for, let's say, 4 weeks. I would go to the spot to try to film it. If I didn't get kicked out, I probably tried that trick for 3 hours. So it's 3 hours of failing, destroying my body, going through pain just to land it one time, which then goes in a video part and goes by in 2 seconds, right? So we experience this world of we fail 99% of the time. We go through war 99% of the time just to accomplish it one time. And what that taught me is it doesn't matter how long it takes, it only matters that you do. And so everything that I've ever gone into, I never questioned myself being successful. The only thing I wasn't sure about was the variable of time. This might take me 6 months, this might take me 2 years, but it didn't matter to me because I experienced that process of skating. So going through these journeys or these struggles, I would never go through this like self-doubt when something didn't work and go, why isn't this working? Is this not for me? Maybe I shouldn't do this. It was just part of the process that I had to go through to succeed. And I look at the whole world that way. I look at friendships that way. I look at business that way. I look at investing that way. But anything I do, I look at, I will succeed. I don't give a shit how long it takes. It's part of the process.
There's not another thing that could be said. That was amazing. And I think that is so powerful what you just said that I wish millions, billions of people could hear just that part of this podcast, because we live in a world where everybody thinks they're going to be an overnight success, where they think that everything happens immediately overnight and it's just going to be like that. That's not reality. Reality is what you just said. Fail until you succeed. No until you get a yes. That's just the reality of how life is, and it's not going to change, and it's never going to change. So get with it, put the time in, and don't ever quit. That, man, you just summed it up way better than I just did.
And I'm going to add just one more thing to it. That doesn't end for me. Like, even if you're looking at what I'm doing now, right? Like, yeah, from the outside looking in, it could look like, yeah, this is, he must be good at this. He's got this, he sold this, right? I fail as much now as I did when I had nothing. My life now is still a walking failure. So it's just looking at failure differently, you know? So just, you get that under, you get that where you're looking at it the right way, you do anything.
But, and you know that not just from skateboarding, but also from entrepreneurship and the fund and real estate. Every successful person you've ever met, I don't care if they're a billionaire, they all have fallen on their face. Sometimes some of them have fallen on their face so many times, you're like, dude, how did you get back up? But that's just what it takes. You know, Rocky said it best, you know, it's not how many times you can get hit and go down, it's how many times you get back up. That is exactly what it is. So Mikey, I don't want to take all night long because we could go on with this thing forever, but there's going to be a ton of golden nuggets out of this podcast, and my audience is going to really benefit from that. So if anyone wanted to find you, what is the best way for them to seek you out, to learn about your story and the things that you're doing?
I kind of just lead everybody towards Instagram. It's just my name, Mikey Taylor. From Instagram, you could pretty much find out everything I'm doing. And then my email's on my Instagram as well. So if you want to reach out, DM me, email me. I'm pretty good at responding. I'm just not quick at responding if you go through the DMs. I have a lot of them coming in, but I'll get back to you.
Oh, that's awesome. So I hope all of you got a ton out of this, because this was a real honor to me to have Mikey on here. Mikey was like a hero back when we had the skateboard shops, and just to hear the story firsthand is literally just something I never really thought I'd experience. So I say a huge thank you to you, Mikey, and you guys. Just, if you take anything out of this, just take it and run with it and take action. Don't just sit there and keep, taking and gathering all this knowledge and just being a collector of knowledge. It's not what's going to make your life change. You got to take something and you got to run with it, and you got to fail. Just like Mikey said, you got to fail until you succeed, and you're going to hear no's. You're going to hear lots of no's. Lots of people will say no, absolutely not, hell no. Every single one of them should fuel you, because the next one could be a yes, and that yes is all that matters. And that's what will get you there. And if money is that barrier, you just don't let that be your barrier of success, because money is everywhere. Money is all around you. And once you figure out how money works, it becomes so easy to get, so that you can live your dream and chase your dreams and do everything you want. So don't stop, just take action. And with that being said, that's where we're going to wrap on that. Mikey, thank you so much. I can't wait for our paths to cross again, and I hope it's sooner than later.
Thank you, brother.
All right. Thanks everybody for joining us for another edition of the Real Estate Money School. We'll see you at the next episode.